Playing Gartic Phone in Ponytown is actually super easy, simple, and fun to set up. All you need to do is build a map that looks similar to this. As you can see, it's utilizing the entire map space, so there isn't room for basically anything else. But each of these white tiles is 8 by 8. So if we take some floor tiles here, it's 8 across this way and 8 down this way to make an 8 by 8 grid completely. You're gonna set that up, and then you're gonna have like something to kind of bridge them across, and these are all gonna be about 4 spaces across. So it's gonna be about 4 spaces, and then you're gonna build another 8 by 8, and then 4 spaces, you're gonna build another 8 by 8, and so on and so on and so on. You need to do that left and right, up and down, until you have something that looks a bit like that map there. Next, once you do that, you're gonna gather all your players. Now, the way I have it set up is 5 at max, because we're gonna fill up this entire bottom row with players. There's gonna be a player in each of these bottom rows here. Then you as a host, or if someone else is hosting, because there has to be a host for this. The host unfortunately cannot build technically, because it just is the way it is. The host is going to whisper each of these players something to build. They're gonna whisper them a prompt. It can be something as simple as build the toys, like build a toy, build this shop that you really enjoy, or build a library, or build a Pokemon fighting another Pokemon, or something like that. It can be as crazy or as wild as you want it to be. Just give them some kind of prompt. Whisper it to each of them. Just make sure it's doable in under 3 minutes, because once you whisper everyone, you're gonna tell them all that they have 3 minutes to build. You're gonna unlock map editing, and then they are going to go ham. They're gonna start building, and you're gonna have that 3-minute timer off to the side. Whoever's hosting would have it anyway. And they would then turn off the 3-minute timer after the 3 minutes is up, and then lock map editing, and no one can edit builds anymore. Once that happens, every player is going to shift to their right. They're going to go across the bridge and then go to whatever the platform to their right is. Once they do that, they're going to look at that platform and think, oh heck, what is this? They're going to try to come up with some kind of guess as to what they think this is. Once they do come up with whatever they think the build is, they're then going to whisper the host what they believe this build is. Once they do that, they are then going to go to the platform directly above the platform they just guessed on. Once they do that, they just have to wait for everyone else to finish, and once everyone else finishes, the next round will start, and you'll do exactly what you did in the previous round, except this time, you're not actually going to receive whispers. Instead, you're actually going to build what you just whispered your guess as. So, for example, if I believed the recent build was a shipwreck or something like that, I will then build a shipwreck, and that will be what I do. And again, you just repeat the cycle from there. The only strange part of this, and I probably showed it in my little demonstration there, but in the bottom right corner, if you are in the very far right side of the map, obviously you cannot go to the right because there's nowhere to go. In that case, if you are on the very far right side of the map, when the round ends, you are going to go up 1 platform and then go all the way to the left until you cannot go left anymore, and then you're going to go down 1 platform so you can get all the way to the bottom left corner. Technically, you can just go all the way across the left. You can pass people's builds and things like that. I like to have people go up 1 platform and then go across to get to the opposite side. I do that because I don't like to have people get spoilers on builds and things like that, because it can kind of mess up the game a little bit if they get a lot of spoilers and stuff. But whatever the case is, if you are on the far right side when the round ends, you need to go all the way to the very far left side of the map to take your guess and then build and stuff. So once you are on the platform above and you build what you previously guessed, you are then going to go to the platform to the right. Just like before, you're going to whisper whatever your guess is. It's going to be like, oh heck, I think this is a cat. This is some kind of weird cat. You're then going to whisper that to the host, go up 1 platform, and then when map editing is unlocked again, you'll have another 3 minutes to build the cat that you just whispered as being your guess. Then, of course, just like before, you're going to finish your build. You're going to go to the right. You're going to whisper your guess. Then you're going to go up 1 platform, and then you're going to build what you just guessed. And you see how it goes. There's as many rounds as there are players. So if you have 5 players, there's going to be 5 rounds. If you have 4 players, there's going to be 4 rounds. If you have 3 players, there's going to be 3 players. And the reason why is because if you have any more rounds than there are players, everyone's going to end up with the build that they originally started with. So they're going to know what the original thing was supposed to be, and they're going to be like, oh, I know this is supposed to be a cat because I knew that my original guess was a cat. So no matter how bad this thing looks, I'm just going to guess cat because I just know what it is. You can technically shrink this down or expand this. I guess you probably can't really expand it much more than this, but every platform is 8 by 8 in my version of this. Now, you can do this where they're like 4 by 4 grids, or like 5x5 tiles that they can build on and stuff like that. But in my experience, an 8x8 tile to work on is probably the best space. It gives them the most amount of room to actually build and work on things, and it just makes things nice and lovely. You can technically move these platforms a little bit closer to each other, but I like to have them separated this way so that there is no way they can kind of peek at the other people's builds and stuff like that. Obviously, that's going to happen regardless, but the more spaced out they are, the better it's going to be for you to avoid that situation where you're peeking at each other's builds and stuff like that. Because the whole point is that you're not supposed to see each other's builds. Once the game is finished, you are going to go through every single build. The host will take everyone to the bottom left corner of the map, just like this. Come on, guys, come all the way down to the bottom left corner of the map. Everyone's going to take a look at it. Everyone who didn't build or didn't whisper a guess is going to guess out loud what they think it is. For example, let's say Skella here built this, and it's supposed to be a mountain or something like that. Something weird like a mountain lion or something to that effect. Let's say Birthmark came up here and he was the one that guessed what this build was. Skella and Birthmark both will not spat out guesses here because they both either know what it is or have already given a guess. So the other 3 players will then say out loud to the host, oh, I think this is a mountain lion, or I think this is a dog, or I think this is a weird pony or something to that effect or something. Then the host will then announce what the actual thing really was. They will then say, the actual build was a mountain lion, and Birthmark guessed that it was a weird cat for some reason. So he came up here and he built a weird cat, and you show off the build, and then you take a look at whatever the next guess was for that specific build, and you as a host will say, the thing that Birthmark built was obviously meant to be a weird cat, but the person that saw it thought it was a refrigerator for some reason. They thought it was a refrigerator. So they came up here and they built a refrigerator, but the person that saw this thought it was an elevator. So they came up here and they built an elevator, and the person that saw this thought it was an elevator. That's right. Elevator carried over twice. And so they built an elevator. And then there you go. And that's it. You go through it. You can kind of laugh about how they built it. You can laugh about their designs, whatever else like that. And once you finally make it to the very tippy top, you're going to go all the way back to the very bottom, except you're going to go to the right platform. You're going to go to the platform to the right and then work your way from there all the way to the top. And then go through all the builds exactly how you did there, and you do that until you've went through every single build. So we've made it to the bottom, we come up here, again the host is like, okay, this was built by this person and was guessed by this person, so what do you think it is, what do you think it is, etc. And then they spat out their guesses, you tell them what it really was, what the real guess was, what the actual build was, and you go on and on and on and on until you make it to the top. And once you make it to that one, again you'll come back to the bottom, you'll go to the 3rd platform this time and do the repeating process of just doing the same thing again and again and again until you get through all the platforms and all the builds. So I think that does pretty much cover everything. If you have any questions about how Gartic Phone in Ponytown works, let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely answer those questions for you. Now, something else to note is the boat. There's no real good place for it. I think if you're hosting or whatever else like that, you should probably just leave it in the water here or just leave it on a platform or something like that. But make sure that you move this boat off of all the platforms and move it over here or like over here in the ocean somewhere or something like that once the building starts. That way it's not in people's way and stuff like that. And then once they move to the 2nd platform, you can just move it back down here at the bottom because it won't matter anymore. So that's another thing to keep in mind because that can get in the way. And if you're covering the entire map like this, there's usually not a safe place to put it unless you're doing like a 3-person game or like a 4-person game or something to that effect. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.